What if your entire life, your income, your confidence, your peace of mind was not decided by luck, talent, or timing, but by one single habit you repeat every day? Most people are not stuck because they lack opportunity. They are stuck because they repeat the same small choices and call it life. But here's the truth most people never face. You are one habit away from a completely different life. Your life is not built in one moment, and it is not destroyed in one mistake. It is shaped quietly, slowly, almost invisibly, through what you choose to repeat every single day. Most people think their future is decided by big events, one opportunity, one breakthrough, one lucky turn, but the truth is far more simple and far more uncomfortable. You don't become what you wish for in silent prayers alone, and you don't become what you dream about while lying awake at night. You become what you repeatedly do when no one is watching, when no applause is coming, when there is no immediate reward waiting for you. Every action you repeat is writing your story, even when you are not aware of it. The small decisions you make in private moments, how you spend your time, what you feed your mind, what you delay, what you ignore, these are not random. They are shaping your character, your discipline, your direction. In a deeper sense, life is a trust given to you. In faith, every day is an opportunity, a test, and a responsibility. You are being given time not just to exist, but to choose. And those choices, repeated again and again, become the witness of your journey. When a person stands in prayer asking for change, yet returns to the same habits, the answer does not come from words, it comes from action. There is a painful truth many hearts try to avoid. You cannot pray for a different outcome while living the same pattern. Change is not only asked for, it is practiced. And practice is nothing more than repetition. Repetition becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. Think deeply about it. The person you are today is not a surprise. It is the result of what you repeated yesterday, last month, last year. And the person you will become tomorrow is already being shaped by what you repeat today, even in this very moment of decision, hesitation, or delay. This is where emotion meets reality, because deep inside, every person knows they are capable of more. There is a silent pain in watching time pass while potential remains untouched. There is a quiet frustration in knowing what should be done, yet not doing it consistently. And over time, that gap between who you are and who you could have been becomes heavier to carry than failure itself. Faith teaches accountability, not only in actions, but in consistency. A single good act is beautiful, but a life of repeated goodness becomes transformation. Likewise, a single neglect does not define you, but repeated neglect builds a path you eventually walk without realizing where it leads. Your life is being written in repetition, not in speeches, not in intentions, not in emotional highs or temporary motivation, but in the quiet return to the same habits, the same choices, the same direction you follow when life feels ordinary again. Big destinies are not born in big moments. They are quietly shaped in the smallest, most ordinary decisions that most people ignore. The world often looks for dramatic turning points, one opportunity, one breakthrough, one life-changing event, but real transformation rarely announces itself that way. It arrives silently, through repetition, through discipline, through the things you do when no one is clapping and no one is watching. A single small habit seems harmless in the beginning. Waking up a little late, delaying one task, skipping one day of effort, missing one moment of prayer or reflection, choosing comfort over effort just once. On its own, it feels insignificant, almost invisible. But life is never changed by one action alone. It is changed by what that action becomes when it is repeated again and again. This is where destiny begins to take shape. Not in the loud moments of achievement, but in the quiet consistency of discipline. Because every small action is either building you or breaking you, even when you don't feel it. The way you spend your mornings, the way you speak to yourself, the way you respond to laziness or pressure, these are not random behaviors. They are the foundation of your future. In a deeper sense, every small habit is a form of testimony. In faith, nothing is hidden from the one who sees both the public and the private. The effort you make in silence carries weight. The struggle to stay consistent, even when no one is rewarding you, is not unnoticed. There is meaning in the smallest act of discipline, even when the world sees nothing. Emotionally, this is where most people feel the conflict. They want a different life, but they continue repeating the same small patterns that create the current one. And slowly, frustration builds not because change is impossible, but because consistency feels difficult in moments where motivation disappears. Yet destiny is not shaped by motivation. It is shaped by what you continue to do when motivation leaves you. Every great life is simply the outcome of countless small decisions aligned in one direction. And every broken path is often the result of small compromises repeated over time. It is never the size of the action that matters most, but the direction it creates in your life. The truth is simple but powerful. No one wakes up in a different destiny overnight. They arrive there slowly, through habits so small they rarely seem important in the moment, but so consistent they eventually become impossible to ignore. Every person carries dreams within them. Some are spoken out loud, others remain hidden in silence, protected by fear, delay, and doubt. But having a dream is not the same as living it. A dream alone is only imagination, beautiful in thought, powerful in emotion, but fragile in reality. It exists in the mind, not in the world. Simpler. The difference between what you hope for and what you become is never talent alone and never luck alone. It is something far more grounded, far more demanding, and far more honest. It is discipline. Discipline is the bridge that connects what you imagine to what you actually live. Without it, dreams remain distant pictures in the mind, things you think about during quiet moments, things you promise to start someday, things that slowly lose their strength as time passes. But with discipline, those same dreams begin to take form. They stop being thoughts and start becoming behavior. They stop being wishes and start becoming identity. Because discipline is not about motivation. Motivation rises and falls like waves. Discipline is different. It is the decision to continue even when emotion is silent, even when comfort is calling, even when no immediate reward is visible. It is the quiet strength to stay consistent when nothing feels exciting anymore. Simpler. And in a deeper sense, discipline is also a form of responsibility. In faith, every ability is a trust and every opportunity is a test. Time is not just passing, it is being recorded through action. What you do with your time reflects what you truly value, even more than what you say you value. A person may dream of success, but their discipline reveals whether they are walking toward it or away from it. Emotionally, this is where the struggle becomes real, because many people feel the weight of their own potential. They know what they could become, and that awareness can be both inspiring and painful at the same time. Inspiring because the possibility is real. Painful because they also know how often they delay it. Simpler. Without discipline, a dream remains something you visit in your thoughts. You imagine it, you feel it for a moment, and then life pulls you back into the same cycle. But with discipline, something shifts inside a person. Repetition begins to build structure. Structure begins to build identity. And slowly, what once felt like a distant vision starts becoming the way you live every single day. Because reality is not created in one powerful moment. It is built in countless small, disciplined choices that quietly reshape who you are becoming. Your present life is not a mystery, and it is not random. It is a reflection, clear, direct, and honest, of the habits you have been repeating for days, months, and years. Every result you see today, whether it is success, struggle, peace, or pressure, is connected to something you have been doing consistently in silence. Simpler. Life does not suddenly appear in front of you fully formed. It is written slowly, like a report card being filled every single day. Not with one exam, not with one decision, but with repeated patterns that accumulate over time. The way you spend your mornings, the way you respond to discipline, the way you treat your responsibilities, the way you handle distractions, these are all marks being added to your life without you noticing. If you look closely at your current situation, it will not confuse you. It will reveal you. Because habits are not just actions, they are directions. And every habit you repeat is quietly pointing you toward a specific future. Some habits build clarity, strength, and growth. Others slowly drain energy, focus, and purpose. But all of them are writing something into your life, whether you acknowledge it or not. Simpler. There is a deep truth many people avoid facing. Your life today is not happening to you, it is coming from you. The discipline you maintained or ignored, the effort you gave or postponed, the choices you repeated or avoided, these are all written in the results you now live with. In a spiritual sense, this reflection carries even more weight. Life is not only a collection of actions, but a record of intention and consistency. Every effort made in sincerity, even when unseen by others, carries meaning. And every pattern you allow to continue without correction becomes part of your direction. Nothing is truly hidden, because habits reveal what words often hide. Simpler. Emotionally, this realization can feel heavy. Because when a person becomes honest with themselves, they begin to see that their future is not far away. It is already being built by their present behavior. There is both responsibility and awakening in that understanding. Responsibility because change requires ownership. Awakening because it shows that transformation is still in your control. Simpler. Your current life is not permanent, but it is informative. It is telling you exactly what you have been practicing consistently. And if habits are what created today, then habits are also what will define tomorrow. The future is not waiting to happen. It is already being shaped in the repetition of your daily actions. Excuse do not appear out of nowhere. They grow in the space where action is missing. When a person stops moving, stops trying, and stops building, the mind naturally begins to fill that silence with reasons. Reasons why it is not the right time, why circumstances are difficult, why energy is low, why tomorrow will be better. And slowly, those reasons stop sounding like excuses and start sounding like truth. Simpler. But the truth is simpler than that. Excuses are not evidence of inability. They are often a reflection of inactivity. The less a person acts, the more their mind justifies inaction. And the more they justify it, the further they drift away from the life they once imagined. This is where one good habit changes everything. A single positive habit, small but consistent, can begin to interrupt the cycle of excuses. Because habits do not argue with the mind, they override it. When action becomes routine, there is no longer space for endless negotiation. You don't wake up debating whether to do it or not, just simply do it, because it has become part of who you are. Simpler. In a deeper sense, discipline and action is also a form of clarity in life. In faith, a person is not only guided by intention, but by practice. Consistency turns intention into reality. When you commit to even one good habit, whether it is discipline and prayer, honesty and effort, then you will find that it becomes easier to maintain that good habit. Or persistence and self-improvement, you begin to replace confusion with direction. Emotionally, excuses feel safe in the beginning. They protect you from discomfort, from fear, from effort, but over time they also trap you, because every excuse you accept today becomes a limitation you carry tomorrow. And what starts as comfort slowly turns into regret. A good habit, however, does something different. It creates movement. It builds structure. It gives your day a direction that does not depend on mood or motivation. And the more consistent it becomes, the weaker excuses become. Not because they disappear instantly, but because they lose their power over you. Simpler. One habit repeated daily has more strength than 1,000 explanations of why change is difficult. Because habits create identity, and identity does not need justification. It simply continues what it has been trained to do. And in that shift, excuses no longer lead the conversation, action does. Most people overestimate what they can do in one powerful moment and underestimate what they can build through quiet repetition. They wait for bursts of energy, sudden motivation, or a perfect day where everything feels aligned. In that moment of intensity, they take big steps, make strong promises, and feel like change has finally begun. But intensity is emotional. It rises quickly and it fades just as fast. Consistency is different. It does not depend on how you feel. It depends on what you decide to repeat. Simpler. A small action done daily may not feel impressive in the beginning. It does not create attention. It does not produce instant results. It does not give the satisfaction of a dramatic transformation. But life is not shaped by moments of excitement. It is shaped by patterns of repetition. One day of intense effort can inspire you, but 100 days of consistent effort can transform you. Because consistency builds what intensity cannot: structure. And structure becomes identity. When something is done repeatedly, it stops feeling like effort and starts becoming part of who you are. That is where real change happens, not in temporary motivation, but in permanent behavior. Simpler. In a deeper sense, consistency reflects discipline of character. In faith, actions that are continuous and sincere carry greater weight than actions that are occasional and emotional. A steady effort, even if small, shows commitment, shows endurance. It shows a heart that is not dependent on mood, but anchored in purpose. Emotionally, consistency is often overlooked because it feels slow. People want quick transformation, visible progress, and immediate reward. But life does not operate on urgency, it operates on accumulation. Every small step adds up to something greater than what the eye can see in the moment. Intensity burns bright and then fades. Consistency builds quietly and then lasts. One creates temporary impact, the other creates lasting direction. A single intense effort can be forgotten, but a repeated small action becomes a lifestyle. And when something becomes a lifestyle, it no longer needs force, it becomes natural. Simpler. Over time, it is not the biggest effort that defines a person, but the effort they refuse to stop repeating. Most people believe transformation requires fixing everything at once, changing their entire life, rebuilding their entire routine, becoming a completely different person overnight. But real change rarely works through overwhelm. It works through focus, through precision, through one small shift that quietly redirects everything else. Because life is not always broken in every area. Sometimes it is only one habit that is pulling everything off course. One repeated behavior that is shaping your energy, your decisions, your mindset, and eventually your results. And the powerful truth is this: You don't need to fix everything to change your life. You only need to interrupt the right pattern. Simpler. A single habit, something as simple as how you start your morning, how you manage your time, how you respond to distractions, or how you treat discipline can become the turning point of your entire direction. Because habits are not isolated actions, they are systems. And when you change one part of a system, the entire system begins to adjust. In a deeper sense, this is how transformation works in life and in faith. Guidance often comes not as a complete overhaul, but as a correction of one behavior at a time, a shift in intention, a refinement in action, a return to discipline. And from that single shift, everything else slowly begins to align. Emotionally, many people feel stuck not because they lack ability, but because they feel overwhelmed by everything they think needs fixing. That pressure creates delay, and delay becomes a habit itself. But clarity returns when the focus becomes simple again. Not everything at once, just one thing at a time. Simpler. One habit changed is not a small thing, it is a directional shift. Because direction determines destination. You don't need massive force to turn your life around, you need consistent redirection. Even a slight change in path, repeated daily, eventually leads to a completely different place. That is why the smallest correction can carry the greatest impact. Because once one habit is replaced with discipline, it begins to influence others. It reshapes how you think, how you act, and how you respond to life itself. And slowly, without loud transformation or dramatic moments, your entire direction begins to move somewhere new. Don't wait for a perfect moment. Don't wait for motivation. Simpler. Choose one habit today, just one, and protect it like your future depends on it, because it does. And when you do, you will realize something powerful. You are never stuck. You are just one habit away from a completely different life.